everybody, and welcome back to yet another Sound of Violence podcast. What am I calling these things? The MMA podcast daily recap, something like that, for March 27th, 2020. I am currently just poured a bit of this Templeton Rye, which I haven't had Templeton Rye before. I've always heard good things about it. Super smooth. Not crazy spicy like you get with some ryes, but I've definitely been enjoying it. It's almost too good to be using in like stuff like old fashions, I found, because it's like normally with old fashions I go with a little bit of a spicier rye, and I also go a little bit lower end, something like a bullet or something like that. But yeah, I've been enjoying it quite a bit. So here, cheers to that. Rocking the Glencairn glass, because we fancy up in here. Stuff's good. Anyway, so it's another fucking very solid day in MMA podcast, as far as I can tell. I've been enjoying it, man. So as always, I'm just gonna go through what I listened to and talk about what I still got in the queue. So to start it off, you already know it's quarantine season, so I started off the day with It's the Real Quarantine Radio. I believe this was episode 11. Really solid episode, as always. That show, man, it just makes me feel good in the morning. I enjoy it quite a bit. Also, careful out there if you're buying yourself an emulator, or I guess if you're buying yourself an emulator like Eric. Was it Eric? No, I think it's Jeff that did that. Either way, you probably don't know it's an emulator. If you buy yourself an NES online that you can play a whole bunch of games on one console, spoiler alert, NES games are real fun, but they're real fun for like a couple hours. And then you're like, oh god, I never want to see Excite Bike again. So that's hilarious hearing them talk about that. But on to MMA stuff for today. MMA Road Show episode 261 was solid. They recorded it at the Casa de Cold Coffee. A lot of talk about John being arrested, and Cold Coffee learns you something about mezcal, which was pretty good. Also, I did see the real John Jones, a.k.a. the dude with the mustache, who is a game designer. He was tweeting about how he actually bought some Recuerdo mezcal, evidently today, which is hilarious, and I'm fucking here for it. Let's see. Some other stuff that came up. I listened to the Man and the Myth podcast, their fight flashback for UFC 189, which they put out on Wednesday, March 25th. And yeah, really good episode. If you haven't listened to their previous flashback episode, which I believe was for UFC, sorry, not UFC, it was WEC 53 is the last WEC, right? Pretty sure. But it's the last WEC card is the previous one they did, and that one was good. And then they did UFC 189, which Sean said he considers the best UFC card ever. Which it's not, but it's a really, really strong pay-per-view. And so it was cool hearing them talk about that. I mean, you have some of the greatest fights ever on that card. Well, at least you have two of the greatest fights ever, because people sleep on how crazy the Bermudez versus Stevens fight is. So that was a pretty solid episode. I really liked Heavy Hands quite a bit this week. Heavy Hands episode 309, they had Danny Martin, one of the leaders of the vaping scooter gang over there on the fight site. And they talk a lot about initiative in fights and kind of when to take initiative, and a lot of talk about counterpunching and how it plays into different style, not only different styles of counterpunching, but how it plays into game planning or plays against game planning. I just thought that was a really interesting discussion. That's why I like that show, is they have conversations that you don't hear a lot of, or at least not in that kind of detail outside of like from guys from on the fight site, or from people like Conor Rebush, Phil McKenzie, stuff like that, Pat Wyman back in the day. That reminds me, I have not listened to it yet, but Luke Thomas did his. So I am, for probably the first time in a very long time, going to plug a Sirius XM show, which is Luke Thomas had Pat Wyman on to talk about the end of times, essentially, and just how Pat Wyman, of course, the former Heavy Hands co-host number one, and lover of Juicy Boy, or I shouldn't even say Juicy Boys, just big old muscly dudes is Pat Wyman's thing, but he's all about them gains, bro. But he came on to talk a lot about just, like previous plagues and interesting stuff like that, and like what it looks like to see the downfall of the civilization. It's really fucking fascinating. Having known some of the stuff he's talked about previously, so I'm excited to hear him get into it with Luke, because I think they're gonna have a fucking very interesting conversation. So I plugged that as well, even though that's not even on my list and I haven't listened to it yet. It just sounds good as shit. Let's see. But yeah, that Heavy Hands episode was really solid. Protect Your Neck episode 176, the live chat number 2 that Dan Tom did. Also a lot of John Jones getting arrested talk. Thank God John Jones got arrested, because some of these podcasts, I don't know what they'd be talking about other than that. Except for like Dana losing his goddamn mind and turning into a lobster. Oh my god, yeah. He also brings up on that episode some of the recent news, like the Ashley Evans Smith drama, which is insane. Regardless of whose story is right in that, it's still, the whole situation is insane. And then they talk about some of his favorite old fights, and yeah, I just thought it was an interesting episode. I like all the stuff Dan Tom does. And I think he's doing another top 5 here shortly, which I would really like his top 5 episodes. So I'm excited to hear that. And then one episode that I really love today, something about this show. It's not even all that MMA related generally, but it's just so good. Is The Writer and the Fighter episode 62, now on video. You can actually see Jake Smith on video talking shit to his girlfriend about eating the chicken skin and leaving the rest of the chicken. And it's real good. It's some good stuff. Also, Jake mentioned on this something that is really interesting, since Jake is one of the two of Chael's buddies, both Jake and Chris Sunshine Williams, or Lencioni, they're both subbing in late notice for Chael Sonnen Submission Underground card that happens on Sunday. And Jake said during this, if anybody would know where the event's going to take place, it's Jake. Jake is coming in last minute. Jake is a good, like, close friend of Chael's. Has trained with him forever. Like, Chael's Uncle Chael is, like, looked after him forever. And he's good buddies with Joel also. And, it's interesting. Jake even said he has no idea where the event is. Chael won't tell him. They all have to meet Chael, and they're going to follow Chael from where they're meeting to the event, evidently. Which is fucking wild. Not probably advisable medically, but I don't know. Do what you gotta do. Yeah, fucking crazy. But it was cool hearing them do like a full video. A lot of food talk, which I'm always here for. Also, it's hilarious seeing Jake, like, because David listens to a lot of podcasts and he's super up on news. And so you can see him just kind of slowly, like, explaining to Jake, like, oh yeah, your fight's probably not happening for a while, dude. And you can see Jake just slowly start convincing himself, like, all right, I'm going to start going way harder on snacks this week. So I'm pretty sure if we see Jake said when he weighs in on Sunday, that's his walking weight. I have a feeling it might even be a little bit more than his normal walking weight. And he did say he had Papa John's and Taco Bell back to back this week, so fucking, it's a real good episode. Also, there's one of my favorite things of all time about that show is they had an update for the Two Saps, which is, of course, their TV show that they made, starring Warren Sapp and Bob Sapp. And oh my god, it's real good. I'll just say that. So that I highly recommend checking out The Writer and the Fighter episode 62. It's really, really fun. And then last, I listened to MMA Depressed Us, the Prospect Bus Volume 2, which is Maynard versus Huerta. They also had Dave Herman versus John Inamo and Felipe Nover versus Efren Escudero. And super solid. I love that these are happening. I miss this show all the time. I'm a big fan of it. So, yeah. But it was a fun day. What I have queued up next, probably tonight, since I'm going to be drinking a bit. Oh, actually, you know what? Here, cheers. Shuts to... God, I need to start watching The Wire again. I was talking to Shawnee Podcast about McNulty just a couple minutes ago, and oh man, his coverage on The Wire, he's now in season 2, which, man, I know people don't like season 2, but in retrospect, after you've seen the whole series, and like the second time through on season 2 is real good. It's a lot of ties to a lot of different arcs that end up happening down the line, and it kind of... there is such a deliberate structure to that show and to the different industries it touches and how they tie it together that it is just fucking David Simon gold. Much in the same way that I argue anybody who loves Treme, you really owe it to yourself to watch. Or sorry, anybody who loves The Wire, you really owe it to yourself to watch Treme. Because essentially it's a very similar kind of storytelling. Totally different story. But very similar styled storytelling about just the blend between people and classes and race and industry all built around a big city. And Treme is one that takes place in New Orleans just after Katrina, and it is... I literally have goosebumps. It's so good. I'm thinking about it, I literally just got goosebumps. It's so good, you guys. So if you like The Wire, I cannot recommend Treme highly enough. But anyway, yeah, MMA Depressus was really, really solid, and I'm excited they're doing that. So let's see. I do have Punch Drunk Sports Quarantine Edition queued up for later today. I may also listen to some of the Joey Diaz Rogan episode, although I have a feeling Joey Diaz is just going to be freaking out the whole time. And just be like, oh, I don't give a shit, dog. I'm not leaving my house. I got my weed. We're locked down. Mercy ain't going fucking nowhere. The cats aren't even allowed outside, dog. I'm guessing it's a lot of that, so I haven't listened to it yet. I'm smoking numbers. Inside, outside, all around the sides. The fuck sucker. Yeah, I'm guessing that's a lot of that. I imagine Joey Diaz is going stir crazy. That motherfucker cannot sit inside based on any story he's ever told. That dude's up and walking to the dispensary at like 4 a.m. every morning, it seems like. Let's see. I also got Submission Radio 204 still in the queue. I also got Loudmouth MMA yesterday for UFC 40 and UFC Unfiltered episode 370 with Chael Sonnen and Dean Thomas. Because anytime you get Dean on with Matt Serra, I'm fucking there for it, like I mentioned yesterday. And I'm surprised there hasn't been more stuff that dropped. Oh, you know what? I still do have a little bit of the Between Rounds WC 44 card that I'm going to try to watch tonight, too. And I am only 2 episodes into Tiger King. But holy shit, that show is ridiculous. There's no reason... Like, I went into that thinking, like, oh, fucking bunch of abusive rednecks. This is going to be really sad and just, like, melancholy as shit. Nope. It's the fun kind of rednecks where everybody's a bad guy in that movie. It's like, what is it? Overnight? Is it Troy Duffy? The guy who made Boondock Saints? Yeah, it's Troy Duffy. No. Is it Troy Duffy? It's not Troy Duffy. What the fuck is this? Oh. Is it Troy Duffy? It's Troy Duffy. Okay, I tried to spell it like Todd Duffy is why I got fucked up. Oh, yeah. If you've ever seen, I believe it's Overnight. What's the name of the documentary? But it's one of those documentaries where, yeah, because it's Harvey Weinstein being a cunt to Troy Duffy, who's also acting like a cunt. So you're just rooting against everybody the entire time. It's a lot like that is how I feel like this Tiger King is. Except if they were all on meth and rednecks and just doing the wildest shit. And I'm 2 episodes in. I just found out that at the end of the 2nd episode, they just drop facts about Carol where you're like, what the fuck, Carol? And then evidently DC on Twitter, I saw, is just trying to out fucking spoilers for that show. So what the fuck? But yeah, I'm going to hopefully watch some more of that tonight. Probably buy some edibles since I found a dispensary down here that does delivery still. And they're doing fucking basically 50 milligram edibles for $1 if you buy them in bulk, which is, I don't know how they're doing that since they're super legal and accredited, but I'm definitely buying it while it exists. So I guess that is what I am going to do tonight. But yeah, I will see y'all tomorrow. Chris and I are tentatively planned for 7 tomorrow, which, knowing Chris and I, means we'll probably start at like 7:30, 7:45. But we will be back to talk about with the regularly scheduled podcast, and then I don't know what we're doing for the second segment yet. I'm gonna try and convince him to do a Fight Companion style recording that we pre-tape and then put out for King of the Cage Wet and Wild 7. Or King of the Cage 7, Wet and Wild, which is on Fight Pass, and it's the King of the Cage event that took place outside in the rain. And it is a fucking shit show. It's really good. So, I guess that's about it. So, until tomorrow, everybody, go listen to some fun podcasts. Go watch The Wire if you haven't. And if you have, well, you've probably seen Tiger King, because that shit is stupid. But maybe get really, really high and watch Tiger King also. So, until tomorrow, y'all. Go do something decadent.
Thank you.